Hi there, welcome to Taurus Soap Opera. Today I'm going to do a reading for Taurus energy. And like usual on this channel, we're going to do 2 rows. The top row I refer to as high vibe Taurus energy. The bottom row, a more worldly, shadowy Taurus energy. We all have our free will and our dualistic nature, and we have to make decisions in our life. And the top row could just represent either what we're trying to maintain in our life, more high vibe energy, or that we could like to move forward in life a little differently than we've been living life. Just feeling a little more balanced within ourselves, heal, grow, mature ourselves through some of our fears or insecurities, whatever it could be. And the bottom row could represent some of those fears and insecurities. And it can also represent our comfort zone. It's if we're going to move forward in life a little differently, we have people we hang out with that, we kind of do some of those things with. And sometimes other people don't want us to change. Sometimes other people don't want us to heal, don't want us to love and believe in ourselves, because then we can all hang out together not loving and believing in ourselves. So, for some people who've already moved forward in life a little differently, some of the people in your life move forward with you. And they're like, yeah, we kind of work through these things together, loving and encouraging to each other. And sometimes some people don't move forward with us. And the reason for the top row's reading is the Three of Wands, which can talk about action we want to take, that we want to bring a dream into reality. But in high vibe, it would be more inspired by hope and faith and belief in yourself. And the Three of Wands is Aries energy, which is about the self. And you could have dealt with someone who, in their Aries energy, because we all tap into the different zodiac signs, and we either harness them in a more worldly way, shadowy way, high vibe way. You could know an Aries who's an Aries sun sign, and you're the one who harnesses high vibe Aries energy, or vice versa, The reason for the bottom row's reading is the Seven of Swords, which is Aquarius energy, which can also be about our dreams that we want to manifest. It's just that the Seven of Swords can be when we're kind of up in our head, maybe about being inspired to have more hope and faith and belief in ourselves, because we'd be harnessing our fire sign energy differently. And in our more worldly fire sign energy, or staying in our comfort zone, we could kind of keep liking to do things the way we've been doing it. And we have some mental conflict about doing things differently. And sometimes we're the ones who aren't ready to move forward, and other people are ready to move forward. The Seven of Swords can be where maybe people are a little bit more caught up and inspired by the things of the world or themselves, and it's more about the ego or the image or them. And there could always be some people in our life that we think, instead of listening to their intuition, they do kind of get caught up in their head, and then there can be a lot of different things that manipulate them. Fear, insecurity, other people, and they don't really listen to their intuition to guide them. High vibe energy is learning to free yourself from all these things that manipulate you, to take action in truth and love, not wishing ill will on anyone, not trying to manipulate and control anyone. I want to move forward and live my authentic life and be in just and fair and loving and encouraging relationships. And there can be people that we've known in our life that's really not their truth. They might not want to be just and fair. They might not want to do a more open or authentic or loving relationship. Some people like to live more from their mind than their heart. The Seven of Swords in Aquarius is air sign energy. Some people are like, I don't really like to maybe connect in with my emotions and do love. I get hurt doing that. And maybe I am more about me, or maybe I am more about the world, or these things I indulge in. I think I'll be happy enough living my life like that. And other people are like, You know, we all have growing and maturing to do. We've all been more inspired by the world and these things of the world and, caught up in it. And then there can be a point in our life where it's like maybe when you have some of those things of the world and you feel like a lot of those things you have, then it's like, now I can focus my attention on other parts or, continuing to grow and heal and mature myself. And some people are like, what? No, you were supposed to keep living your life like this. And this was supposed to be your primary focus always. But part of life is, at these different stages of our life, we're motivated and inspired by certain things. We want to manifest certain things. Certain things motivate and inspire us. And then those things don't as much as they used to. And then that was part of the dream, part of the journey. But the journey isn't over. There's still more to explore. And that's when some people are like, yeah, I don't want to do that. I'm good. And so sometimes, and some people, we can all know people in our life, right? We can be at different ages and stages of life. Younger people could say, what? No, I don't look at life that way. No, I'm not motivated and inspired to do that. I want to go do this. Well, they're at a different stage of life. We were there too. They're going to want to go do that. But then sometimes we can have people in our life, and yeah, what we're kind of motivated and inspired by, and some of the things that we want to go do, some other people are like, yeah, that's not my thing, but hey, I wish you peace and love. And we're like, thank you. And I wish you peace and love. Everybody's different. You have your right to live your life and what motivates and inspires you and your idea of the dream life. But my idea of the dream life, kind of what motivates and inspires me, and some of my dreams or things that motivate and inspire me. But I can love those people and they can have love for me. But probably the big reason why people come to tarot is because it's more challenging when it was someone who maybe was a close friend or a family member that you had been in a close friendship or relationship with, or a romantic interest. And we really kind of thought we were going to keep working together, and, that we were always kind of going to be on the same page. And I think, it can get down to where, other than those other things, like, I don't want to go do that. I don't enjoy that. I still like this. I'm kind of tired. And the other person's like, I'm kind of tired of this. And I think I want to go do those things. And then some relationships and friendships just, you find other people to find those things you like to go do because you're kind of tired of the things you've been doing, maybe, right? But I think at a core foundational level with some relationships is it can get down to the core foundation of what kind of ultimately more drives and motivates us. And some people are more motivated and inspired to be more independent of their more worldly egoic nature and conforming to the world and making their life more about the ego and the image. And Aquarius is also represented by the star card, making their life more about those things. And do I still put work and effort to have those things and have a job and all those things? Yeah. But, again, it's kind of like a phase of life where a lot of those things at different stages and ages of my life, some things were more important and I wasn't ready and had no interest in doing certain other things because I was really focused on these things. And then we go to the next stage of life, and then we're kind of focused on those things and not those things and not the past things. And we can move forward in friendships and relationships with people for a long time. And then either, someone's kind of like, no, this was the end of the road for me. I never planned to do anything more than this, really, or I don't look at life that way. But some people might not think there is any higher truth or justice to aspire to. Ultimately can be what people get to. The game in town is the world. It is more about the world, and the world says if we make our life about these things, we'll look victorious or successful or be happy. And other people might be more inspired, like those things don't. Do I want stability and security in my life? Sure, but I think there's more for a purpose of being on this planet. And it could even be that maybe other people didn't really find things that were kind of a unique talent, skill, or interest of theirs, or are more inspired to even keep learning new things and other people don't. I don't know. We'll probably find out more as we go. Let's go look at the top row first. We have the Hierophant, the Ace of Pentacles, the Four of Pentacles, the Six of Pentacles, the Star card, the Eight of Cups, the Queen of Wands, the Queen of Swords, and the Five of Pentacles in reverse. So, the Hierophant and the Six of Pentacles and the Five of Pentacles is all Taurus energy. Down here we have the Empress energy, which is kind of Libra Taurus energy. And Taurus energy does have to do with kind of our philosophy of life. It's like the Supreme Court in our own head. At different stages of life, we have different ways of viewing life, how we view ourselves, how we view the world, how we view others, how we view relationships, what we think is just and fair in relationships, how we think it's just and fair to live our life. And High Vibe Taurus is about being a spiritual leader in the world. You know, kind of growing and maturing yourself and wanting to be someone where, you know, you do walk your truth and from love. So if I'm going to get in a romantic relationship, I'm not supposed to be living more from my mind than my heart. I should be motivated and inspired by love. But there can be a lot of people in the world who don't want to do love. I get hurt doing love. And sometimes we can get in relationships with people like that. And in our Aquarius energy, we kind of don't want to see the truth. Because we could, well, for one, we can have a hard time even wrapping our brain around the fact that, because we think everybody's motivated and inspired by love, aren't they? And doesn't everybody kind of want to free themselves from things that manipulate them, their fear, their insecurity, their past pain and heartbreak, their self-limiting beliefs, their more worldly nature, egoic nature, people in their life and how the world manipulates them? Can't we be loving and encouraging people to help each other free ourselves from those things? And so we can get in relationships with people who harness their Taurus energy differently. And we start out in the bottom row with the Death card, which can be, I let go of that dream. Maybe at one point in time, people had more hope and faith and belief in love or in themselves. But somewhere along the road, they could have decided, nope, I'm not doing it. I can get hurt. Or they could have thought, my dreams aren't going to come into reality the way some of the things I would want to do. And so I need to be practical and logical and work more with the things of the world, my more worldly nature. Because some people could have a dream, say, of maybe you really would like to be a painter. Well, you could go to school to be a painter, and I know people who went to school to be artists and get degrees in art. But you think, and you could have a lot of people telling you, oh, you shouldn't do that. No, don't listen to your intuition. No, don't believe in that dream. You should put an end to that dream, and you should make your life be practical, be grounded. Harness a more worldly Taurus energy. Don't you want stability and security and status and image? And I don't know if your dream is going to come into reality if you do that. My philosophy is kind of like, if you like music, you like art, you like whatever, you know, enjoy that, at least maybe get a degree in that field, or at least enjoy it part-time if on the weekends, or do some things. But, sometimes people can have a really big dream, like, I want to be the frontline singer. Well, some people become frontline singers, right? But at least if you really do like music, get a music degree and then try to get a job in the profession. At least you would be in the profession and working with other people who love music, for example, and if you like painting, you can still get a degree in art. You can also, you have your free time and you learn your technique, but you might work at, it might be more editing or doing publishing and things. But, I think people should try to incorporate, we have to kind of balance not living like in fantasy land. And we do need to put in work and effort and enjoy our life and at least get in the industry that we like. And we don't know where that will take us, right? And some people, though, they have that dream, but they never put in the work and effort. And Taurus is earth sign energy about putting in work and effort. And so some people kind of have the dream, but they never put in the work and effort. And it's like, well, anyway, I'm sure you get the idea. So let's go back up to the top row. Well, no, let's do the bottom row. Is this what's going on in Taurus energy right now? Back and forth about what my dream is? So, we all could have had a hard time believing in ourself, and Aries energy is about the self. And we've all been young, and we all can feel like, no, I don't know if I can bring my dreams into reality, and I need to maybe work with other people, maybe be codependent on other people, not really invest in my dream. Again, I've got to be practical and logical. And I also might be kind of immature. That's just the bottom row of our worldly immature nature. We can just be indulging our more immature nature, and we don't want to see the truth of it, right? And we're sure all these things we make our life about will make us happy and our dream will come into reality. But we got a lot of lessons to learn in life, right? So, we've all had situations in the death card where we wanted a dream to come into reality. And it could have even been starting out with our own family, because the Hierophant can represent in Taurus energy all these different institutions in the world, from our families to our friendships to our relationships we've been in to jobs that we've been in. We've all went through experiences where, the dream didn't quite come into reality. And we're dealing with other people, and they have their fears and insecurities, and they can be more full of themselves, more superficial, shallow, defensive to love, full of themselves, stubborn, all these things, right? So we've all went through some of those experiences. But we can all get in new jobs, new friendships, new relationships with the Hierophant and the Ace of Pentacles. If something didn't work out and it didn't work out the way I wanted, generally high vibe people is, well, that sucks, that's sad, I might find it really confusing, it might have me up in my head for quite a while, but I'm not willing to give up on my dream, unlike some other people. But sometimes we get in relationships with those people who feel the other way. And one person could be more inspired and still have hope and faith and belief in themselves and in others and in love. And then sometimes we get more mismatched relationships, and we get in a relationship with someone who doesn't really anymore have hope and faith and belief in themselves or in others or in love. And some of those people always were people who like to live more from their mind than their heart, or might kind of be kind of more trying to, don't want to see the truth, that they kind of like to be in relationships, but they kind of think it's just and fair to kind of live more from their defensive, egoic nature. I don't want to listen to my intuition. I don't want to align with my more hopeful, believing nature. And the Empress can represent love. I do not want to do love. But if there's someone who comes along in my life who has hope and faith and belief in love and wants to be in a relationship with me, whether I'm male or female, the feminine figures can represent how people think and feel. The masculine energies can represent how people are presenting themselves in the world. That we can get in a relationship with people where we're in a more mismatched relationship. And as you go through the relationship, both people can end up feeling kind of stressed out because the people who might like to live more from their mind than their heart might like being in relationships, but in their Libra, Taurus, maybe fire sign energy and stuff, they're kind of more motivated to be in a relationship and stay in a relationship and enjoy being in a relationship, but it is a little bit more about the status and the ego and the image and wanting to live more from their mind than their heart. And shadowy Scorpio can be a little more defensive to love and keep their emotional nature buried beneath the surface. And they would also harness these energies in a more shadowy way. But some of the people who could get in a relationship with them harness these energies in a more high vibe way. But they want to get in the relationship and then, like, let's stay here and do this. This is good. Let's keep doing this. I don't want to give birth to anything new because the truth sets us free. And in order to detach from an old way of living life or viewing life or our fears or our defensiveness, we would have to work through those things and we'd have to offer love to those things. But we'd first have to even be inspired to want to work through those things. Because again, it takes work and effort. You have to figure out, why am I defensive? Why do I like to live more from my mind than my heart? Why am I more consumed with it being maybe about me? Shadowy Empress can be people who kind of think they should be indulged in a relationship, male or female. If in their defensiveness, in their ego, their image, full of themselves, or maybe because the Empress also in Libra Taurus energy can represent that some people do kind of look like a shining star in some way. They could be attractive, they could be charming, they could have a good status or image in the world, they could be attractive, they could have money, whatever it is. And of course, some of them are just full of themselves. But they could think, this is good. And I don't look at life from a higher perspective. This is the only game in town, and we should be in a relationship. I like you, you like me. We look like shining stars in the world. Let's make our life about this. And other people kind of maybe not listening to their intuition or kind of caught up in things of the world or have mental conflict about loving and believing in themselves, can be a loving person, but they still could look to other people to love them because they really haven't learned to love themselves. So, you can be a loving person, but it's kind of like maybe shadowy Seven of Swords can kind of be, I try to help other people change. Like if they're defensive, if they're more defensive or more emotionally closed off, or, I'm going to go be loving and they're going to, I'm sure they'll work through all that and we'll move forward in life. I'm sure they'll choose love. And we don't want to see the truth, and we have yet to be illuminated to the truth that we should respect that everybody is where they're at. And Taurus being like the Supreme Court in our head, those people debated all the pros and cons as they went through life, and some of those people decided, nope, I do want to keep my emotions buried beneath the surface. I do not want to do love. I do want to be in a relationship. I enjoy relationship, but I kind of like to live more from my mind than my heart, and we should respect that. But we can have a hard time wrapping our brain around it because if you're motivated and inspired by love, you think everybody is. And then as the relationship moves forward, let's back up here a moment. We can all have fears and insecurities. We can all want to manifest these certain things in the world. Sometimes we can get in a relationship. We were in a relationship. Something ended. We're moving forward. and we're kind of stressed out if our dreams are going to come into reality, if we're going to find someone to get in a relationship with. And the Nine of Pentacles can represent that we're single. So then if someone comes along and they're like, hey, you know, and you could get to know each other and you could have a lot of things in common that, you know, you like, that can be kind of the Nine of Swords, that there's a lot of things to work out in a relationship. Well, I like doing these things and you like doing these things, and this is how I view life and this is how you view life. And basically, do we have enough things that we agree on to different degrees that, you know, we can work together? And hopefully, kind of respect each other and what they bring to the table. And so we can work through those relationships and be in those jobs, friendships, and relationships for a long time. But we maybe didn't listen to our intuition, and we have lessons to learn in that. And we could have known the people who really know they're really not more about love, and you're like the danger zone, and I get hurt doing love, and I'm not doing that. But I can enjoy the relationship. And they might know I really am more about ego or image or money or materialism or me, but I'm not going to tell you that. So they could know their truth and you know your truth, but you can both think maybe it'll work out or maybe they'll change. But I think the people who really don't want to do love and could have a lot of fear about love, some people really haven't worked through some issues within themselves, maybe because of some past experiences, that they really don't trust other people. And, you know, that's kind of being a little disconnected from ourselves emotionally, where we're not listening more to our intuition, and that not everybody's the same, and that if people are working together with me, and if I have learned some of these lessons in life and they've learned some of these lessons in life, and, you know, if we're trying to work together with each other in a more just and fair and balanced way. But, you know, the Nine of Swords can talk also about that, you know, to really move forward, to work together cooperatively, say in a romantic relationship, it is to detach from the past. And in the Empress energy, it's giving birth to this new beginning. You and I are going to work together in a relationship. And there's going to be other people, either right now, who might want to be in a relationship, if you're in a relationship like right now, or as people look to the future, you know, there might be other people who want to be in a relationship with me. If I commit to this dream, well then, you know, I'm supposed to hold back from other people who might want to be in a relationship with me, because I exchanged that dream and those opportunities and those options to exchange resources with someone who I think my dream can come into reality. And that's the thing about free will and our Gemini nature. If I pick this, something has to be sacrificed, right? And if I pick this, something else is sacrificed, right? And some people can really get up in their head about it, and they could just always be afraid that other people, maybe some people, you know, haven't really learned to love themselves and appreciate what they bring to the table. And that when people get in a relationship with them and people enjoy working with them, some of those people weren't really even kind of valuing themselves and even being more authentically themselves. And sadly, some people, it's all this mental construct of trying to kind of present themselves a certain way. And then people can enjoy them, but they in turn is kind of like not, it's really wild. I'm hoping you're getting the theme of this, that it's really wild to think. But some people, it is all more of a mental construct, because they never really learn to invest in themselves and get more balanced within themselves and kind of appreciate themselves and in their own Aquarius energy of I do have my own unique talent, skills, and interests, and I can put in work and effort to grow and mature myself and temper my more immature nature and my more egoic nature and my fearful nature. But the truth is, some people that you'd all have to, people would have to be willing to connect in with themselves emotionally. And that's what Scorpio energy can talk about. We are these emotionally complex human beings, and it can be confusing. And some people, just found it so confusing, maybe overwhelming, that I am not going to explore myself emotionally and work through all these confusing thoughts. I mean, we can all remember junior high and high school and, the early 20s that, it can be really confusing, and we could have made a lot of mistakes, and we could have been deceived and manipulated by a lot of people, and we could have been more immature and blah, 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 right? And some people were, and some people, because they view themselves a certain way, that's like shadowy Scorpio. It is almost more like a dualistic personality, and they don't have to be a Scorpio sun sign. But some people, because of maybe the way they were brought up or something, and we can all have conflict reconciling ourselves with who we kind of think we are and how we like to view ourselves. And then when we do some things that is contrary to how I view myself, right? I mean, some people just don't even want to work through, like, why did I do that? Why did I act like that? That wasn't just and fair. That was whatever. Other people maybe can't reconcile working through the emotional confusion of people in their life who are also kind of dismissive or rude. They just can't see the gray. That can be shadowy Scorpio. It's either black or white. I'm good or I'm bad. Other people are right or wrong or good or bad. And they're just people who maybe didn't offer love to themselves and the situation to work through all their fears and insecurities. And, some people even want to stay in denial that they have a shadow nature. I think at least 50% of the people living in a world of duality, and I'd like to think a lot more people than that, acknowledge I do have my more immature, shadowy nature. And I can be, and we can look back at our life. I was more bossy, and I was more controlling, and I was immature, and I was, and I know if certain things happen, I might act this way or do that way. And I know this can tempt me. And I know, some people can acknowledge that to themselves. But there can be some people, again, because of maybe a philosophy of life that they could have just embraced within themselves. It doesn't necessarily have to be that they grew up with people who are like that. But shadowy energy can be where you stay in denial of the truth. And that's what shadowy Seven of Swords can be. I do not want to see the truth. I continue to view myself as this high vibe person, but yet I do these things. So you can almost view that like a split personality type person, right? And then there's other people who think because I have a certain status or image, or because I look a certain way, or because I come from a certain background or family, or because I'm attractive, or because of whatever, I live in a land of delusion. Some people put a lot of work and effort into having, and maybe maybe initially in their life they put a lot of work and effort into having a certain status or image or looking a certain way. Some people kind of get tempted kind of later in their life. Some of the rest of us just kind of made mistakes as we were going. And but I think everybody has these lessons to learn, and so that's where just like raising children, we can really want to protect our children and hopefully without having to go to extremes. But some people could have grown up in families where some people really did have to toe the line. And so they didn't even get to go do some of the things that they wanted to do. And then maybe when something happened in their life, like they became independent, just like you hear those stories about some kids when they get out of high school. I mean, we can all go a little overboard, or move out on their own, or go to college. It can just really drive their life off into the ditch because they don't have any experience, and have much more limited life experiences than some other people. But, it can be that they moved away. People in their life weren't in their life anyway. Those people could have moved away. Some people could have had some people pass away in their life. And then it was like, now I can go do what I really want to go do. And some people could think because they have put in this work and effort previously to have a certain status and image and people view them that way, then some people could think, well, I can be deceptive and manipulative. And if other people were to try to say that I'm not kind of a more shadowy person, I think I think I can deceive a lot of people, and those people maybe won't want to see the truth that I'm not who I say I am. And I think I can kind of deceive and manipulate those people. And the same thing can happen if people get in a job. Again, the Hierophant, the Four of Pentacles, and the Six of Pentacles, and the Star of having a dream. People can get in a job or a relationship. They can do really good in that job or relationship, shine brightly in a lot of ways. And some people, this is their way of operating in the world, that then them harness, trying to present themselves as a high vibe person, but they're really kind of shadowy. Then I think once I get someone in the job or the relationship or a marriage with me, and they're kind of caught up in the illusion of who I am, then I think I can go indulge myself more in my ego nature, shadowy Queen of Wands of Leo energy. And the same way, you could get somebody who's working at a job. They seem to put a lot of work and effort initially. People think they're someone who puts a lot of work and effort into the job. And then they really kind of want to coast, though. And then hope that that past or their talent or their skills or their education and the first impression for whatever period of time, that now I think I can kind of be more lazy or a little more bossy or controlling or defensive. It's like basically to really go back to indulging their more self-indulgent nature and hoping that the people that they're in a relationship with kind of won't want to see the truth. And then something that started out giving the impression you were both on the same page that this dream was going to come into reality. Really, they were in the Queen of Swords, which is Aquarius energy also. Actually, I'm defensive to moving forward in that way in my Five of Pentacles Taurus energy. I made you think that's not my dream. An end to that dream. That is not my dream. But because I like to have a good job, maybe be in a relationship with people who are loving and nurturing and supportive and encouraging, or a job that pays me well, little do you know, I'm kind of indulge myself and I try to manipulate people. And I hope that once I get in the job or the friendship or the relationship or the marriage, that as time goes by, when I think I can kind of get away with it because the other person is really invested in it, they kind of gave up some of their other options. They didn't pick that other employee to work here or give that promotion to or hire, and other people didn't keep dating or marry someone else. So those kind of options are gone. Well, then I think I can start to this master plan. That's what shadowy Aquarius energy could be. I'm going to, which anyone can harness. They don't have to be an Aquarius sun sign. I'm going to start being kind of defensive because this isn't how I like to really conduct myself. I really like it to be where it's more about me and that the people I'm in a relationship with make their life more about me. I think that's just and fair. And so then they start to be more shadowy and defensive, and the people that are in a relationship with them, they're still trying to move it forward, and they're not, and some people are really bright and smart and in a shadowy way, and it's slowly and subtle over time. Can you imagine all the fucking wasted time and energy that some people do because they're selfish and they want it to be more about them? What a waste of energy. Why not work together with people who are working together with you, and you can have a damn dream come into reality? But some people are like, the truth is they really always were more about themselves. It's just that other people didn't know it. And for a long time, the people in their life keep putting work and effort to keep the relationship seeming to move forward and seem just and fair and motivated and inspired by love. And they don't want to let it go. They don't want to kind of see the truth. They keep putting work and effort in, and they keep trying to move it forward again. And eventually it kind of gets to the point where someone's like, I didn't want to see the truth, but I don't think, how long can I keep staying in denial of the truth? I am trying to move this forward in a more balanced, loving, but it seems like I'm more the one putting in the work and effort to make it be in that energy. And I could kind of feel like the other people are more interested in indulging in it for the ego and the image and the status of it, or enjoying being in a relationship, but they're really defensive to being more inspired by love. And I don't understand. And I'm confused. But I feel left out in the cold, and I kind of feel betrayed. It's like someone, the Hierophant also can kind of represent contracts. Feeling like somebody committed fraud. You gave the impression you were motivated and inspired to work together with me with love, and love is supposed to be just and fair. And you're supposed to treat other people the way you like to be treated, but you seem to think it should be more tipped in favor of being more about you. Or that the driving factor of being in it is more these things of the world. And because of those things of the world, that we might have, and it looks just and fair, and it looks like victorious and successful in some way or degree. Like, you want me to give up my dream. You're not willing to work with me cooperatively to work together. You want me to sacrifice my dream. And eventually that's when some people, have to do all this work within themselves to work through all their fears and their insecurities. And the difference between the 9 and the 7 is the 2 of Swords. which is what we think is just and fair, and we wanted it to work, and we wanted a dream to come into reality. But I feel like they might use the love that I have for them and the fact that I could have took the job, got in the relationship, got in the marriage, had a family, all of those things try to emotionally manipulate me. So that, like hoping, being shadowy, being defensive, being manipulative, blah, 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 that kind of like I wouldn't stand up for what I believe in. And I would kind of give up my dream. And I would make my life more about aligning with their truth, of making it more about the world, and kind of feeling that someone who at one time I could have viewed as just and fair and a person of character and integrity, who looked at life from the higher perspective, who was more independent of their more shadowy nature or fearful nature, or being immature or manipulative or more focused in some way. I kind of see through the illusion. And that's when I'm going to hold back from moving forward with you in this way. I don't want to keep moving forward like that. I don't think it's just and fair. And I'm going to listen to my intuition. And I'm going to take some time to work through my own fears and insecurities about the fact that this might not work out and I might have to become independent and single from this situation. I don't want to be in a relationship not based on love. But I could have love for the person, so then I have to emotionally detach from someone who I have love for. But are they even really who I thought they were? Can people be loving and encouraging and supportive and all those good things in a relationship? Yeah, but they still could be really kind of more about how it benefits them, and really don't like to open up, and really don't like to do equal give and take in a relationship, want to be in it and indulge it. It's good for their ego and image, and they look like a shining star, but that's not their truth. So it's working through all of that to realize, in our Taurus philosophy of life, we operate from a different truth. I am motivated and inspired to want to work together with people, and I do have hope and faith and belief and love. And I have, if not before, during this process, learned to love and believe in myself. And I am going to offer myself that cup of love, and that's in high vibe Leo, to give myself the things I wish other people would have given me. And I am going to look to the future, and I am not moving forward with this anymore because I have a dream. And if I have put in this work and effort, and I have spoken my truth and love to people, and that's when the other people are all stressed out. It's like, shit, I thought I could manipulate this person. I didn't think this person would believe in themselves and believe in their dreams. I thought they'd be really fearful of becoming independent of me. I thought they'd be more codependent on me. I thought they would not love and believe in themselves because they looked to me to love them. Shit, I didn't think they were going to love themselves and know their own worth and value and work through their mental conflict to stand up for themselves and invest in their truth and get balance within themselves and become independent of me and turn their back on me and move away. Well, that's a risk that people take in a relationship, right? They have free will. They have the free will choice to work through their own fears, insecurities, prideful nature, fearful nature. I mean, some people, it's that sometimes they have people in their life that they're codependent on, that they love, and that is the primary relationship in their life. It could be their friend group. It could be their original family group. Well, we all get married to people and we create families with those people, but oh, by the way, you're like the third party in the relationship. My primary loyalty is to this friend group or my original family. You didn't know that when I married you because I didn't tell you that I'm fearful of loving and believing in myself to become more independent and stand up for myself. I indulge them and they maybe want me to indulge them, and they are the primary foundation. I mean, you might walk away one day and then, maybe these people wouldn't be my friend anymore. Maybe my family would hold back from me. So they have things within them, either their own more shadowy, prideful, defensive to love, like to live more from their mind than their heart, or they also have these other situations. Well, this makes logical, practical sense. I thought everybody gets in a relationship more for if we get along well enough for the status and the image. Isn't that what people do? I thought that's what everybody did. And it's like, yeah, well, in a world of duality, some people look at life completely kind of operating from a different foundation than that. And they can have a real, like, I don't understand that. You're an idiot. They could think, oh my gosh, you were in a relationship, you had all these things, or you were in this good job, or whatever. I can't believe you're going to leave here to go. Who knows if your dreams are going to come into reality? And the whole thing is, a lot of them are really afraid of pursuing their dreams or being more independent or being single. And a lot of those people can get in relationships just to get in relationships more out of fear or because of their ego or image or because they want to indulge themselves in a relationship. Some people have done that regardless if they're a high vibe person more or a worldly person or a shadowy person. What happens when someone comes along who really does seem to be more someone who's on the same page as you? Well, I think for the people who created an illusion and got in relationships more out of money or ego or indulgence, of course, they probably created an illusion how wonderful their life was. And then someone comes along who's like, damn, that seems like someone who, if I weren't in this relationship, I could be in a relationship with them. And, that also is karma. Some people don't realize, well, when we take action more out of pride, ego, fear, insecurity, lust, greed, whatever, death is coming. It's probably not going to work out the way we want because we were kind of planting bad seeds. And God wants us to all free ourselves to live our more authentic life. And if we have some lessons learned, we're probably going to get in relationships with some other people who are in shadowy energy. And then we all could be in a relationship more out of the fear, the insecurity, the codependency, the lust, the greed, the whatever. And that's, if you want to have a solid foundation, you have to build it on love. And one person or the other, when you're kind of got these lessons to learn and you're building it on all a combination of a mismatch of all these different things, well, still, if one person is more motivated by love, they didn't listen to their intuition and they could have gotten in a relationship with someone who their intuition could have been telling them, you shouldn't get in a relationship with this person. This person is more, doesn't want to do deep, meaningful relationships, and they're more invested in their worldly nature. Well, now we've learned those lessons. That's High Vibe Virgo. I'm going to take those lessons with me going with. And if before I didn't listen to my intuition, oh, you can bet I'm listening to my intuition now. That's like the Nine of Cups, the Queen of Wands, and the Queen of Swords. I am going to go move forward in the world, having hope and faith and belief in my dreams. But emotionally, I'm standing up for my more intuitive, creative, hopeful, believing, loving nature. I'm not getting in a relationship with just anyone. And I'm not moving forward with people unless my more emotionally intuitive, creative, inspired nature tells me I think it's okay. Then I think those people are telling the truth. And I can be willing to get to know lots of people, but am I going to maybe get in a more involved relationship with people in a way that I could have before, or more tempted for these other reasons or whatever. No, because I want my damn dream to come into reality. And there's no guarantee, but I know if I settle for something that isn't aligned with my truth, odds are highly in favor it is not going to go well. Some people could be in relationships, but they could have a problem maintaining balance within themselves and keeping things in perspective and having kind of hope and faith and belief in themselves and in others and in love. And then they get caught up in their head and their fear, afraid someone's going to leave them, afraid somebody's manipulating them. And then, what we think kind of impacts how we interact with people. How differently do you act with a person if you are able to keep, do this work within yourself, to work through your own fears and insecurities, offer yourself love, quit indulging your more fearful, insecure nature, stay focused on truth and love, know your worth and value. These people are working together with me. I have these good traits, qualities, and characteristics. I deserve love. This person loves me. And keep being inspired to keep having hope and faith and belief so you don't sabotage a relationship by getting up in your head. I did know someone who was in relationships and was always really being fearful of stuff like that. It's like, how are you getting along? Do they seem to be fine and you guys are getting along fine and they're enjoying it and you're enjoying each other? And, do not get up in your head and sabotage this relationship. I mean, you do need to listen to your intuition, but have a little hope and faith and belief. Do you want, and I tell the person, do you want to get out of the relationship? Are you unhappy in the relationship? No. Do you want to stay in the relationship? Yes. It's like, then work through those fears that, like, have some hope and faith and belief in people in the face of nothing. Some people, if other people in a relationship do some work within themselves and they kind of get inspired to look at life differently, then they're not operating from the same foundation that they were before. And they kind of look at life a little differently and they feel a little more confident within themselves. They kind of work through some issues that used to manipulate them. Started to maybe put some work and effort into knowing their worth and value and detaching from some past pain and heartbreak or fears or insecurities. And they're kind of a different person. They're kind of got out of some of their lack mentality or abandonment issues or whatever. And they're kind of looking at life differently. And that can get some people really up in their head, like, something's changed and why'd you do that, and it must be that you want to become single or you must want to be in a relationship with someone else. It's like, and there too, did people communicate their truth or did they hold back? Did you communicate, you seem to be different, you seem to kind of freed yourself from some things. You seem to have more hope and faith and belief in yourself. The people probably would have told them, but some people, because of their own fear and insecurities, and so afraid that, and I guess the more you're in your ego, if you would take it as an ego thing, that if they were to leave, like, that says something about me. Well, for one thing, if you think they'd leave for a shadowy reason, I certainly don't think that's anything you should take on yourself, But some people can just really get in their ego, like, I don't know, and they get all caught up in their head, and some people could even really think the people they're in a relationship are like, wow, you're like really great. And I'm so afraid that, and again, that's kind of a lack mentality. Why would you be in a relationship with me? It's like, well, if people talked about it, well, this is why I like to be in a relationship with you. I like how you might act with character and integrity. I like that you're not more wild or crazy, or I like that, you seem to do equal give and take with me, and maybe some other people didn't, and I like that and you could have told them all these things, but some of those people didn't even bother asking you, and they just got all up in their head and were sure that other people were being deceptive and manipulative, and some people just lack hope and faith and belief in themselves, and it can be, that's how complex of human beings. There can be people, all these things are things that manipulate them. They're kind of more caught up in the world. That's one thing that manipulates them. They kind of have fear of believing in themselves. They have fear of love and getting hurt. They have fear of being more independent. They have fear of trusting other people. They have fear of, fear. Anyway, let's go look at these two cards that aren't showing themselves. And so what that can kind of be is a big difference between people. With some people in our life, we can all want to move forward, have some hope and faith. We can all get caught up in our head. We can all have some fears and insecurities. But in our Taurus philosophy of life, we can harness these energies differently. And one person can harness them a little more worldly, shadowy, and the other person, either if they worked through it and they offered love to it to free themselves from it, or they always harness them in a more high vibrational way. What is it? The Knight of Wands and the Devil. Well, for people who harness that in a more high vibrational way, it can be people that, I have my own fears and insecurities, which can be what the devil means. But in high vibe Sagittarius, I don't like things manipulating me. And so I'm inspired to work through them. So I do this work within myself to work through it. Offer myself love, offer myself encouragement. If I've known people who are immature or bossy or control, blah, 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 I'm not in relationships with those people. I've moved on from those people. And I see the truth when I'm not going to take, if I know, I can only take responsibility for where I need to heal and grow and mature myself. And other people have to take responsibility for their actions. And I'm not going to let other people being shadowy, unjust, unfair, immature, hurtful, or unkind, I'm not going to take that upon myself. I can only do what I can do at any moment in time, and I am at my own maturity level and got my own issues. And, I have to see why some people could respond or react in certain ways. I can grow and mature myself and heal. And I can offer love to people who might have not, for whatever. I can just accept, and the people who were rude or mean or whatever, I accept that they are, and I'm not going to let it affect my self-worth, right? Everybody has to take responsibility for themselves. So the high vibe people are inspired not to keep letting things manipulate them. And they don't like probably being more codependent. And they don't like their ego running their life. And they don't like their more worldly nature running their life. And they're just inspired to free themselves from things that manipulate them. But the other people may have no interest, because again, you have to offer love to yourself to work through those things. And that takes a lot of work and effort to figure out, why do I hold back from being more balanced within myself and believing in myself? And that takes a lot of work and effort. This is Capricorn. This is Capricorn. If you want to free yourself, and Capricorn, like Taurus, is Earth sign energy, if I want to free myself from things that manipulate me, I have to see the truth about what does manipulate me. And some people don't want to see the truth of what manipulates them. And I don't want to put in the work and effort it would take to work through it. And I might not think I have to offer myself love. I could think I'll just go get in another relationship. That'll take care of it. Or I'll go drink and indulge in things or whatever. Or I'll do something else to try to make myself feel better. And if I get up in my head and I get up in my fear, instead of working through it, I may take some immature action to try to get to the truth. In shadowy Scorpio, trying to explore the mysteries of life and what's hidden beneath the surface. And that's shadowy Scorpio. It can be people who kind of act like private detectives in a relationship. I can't work through my fear and my insecurity, and I don't know what they're doing, but of course I don't want to talk to them and ask them. So instead of offering love to the person and the situation and themselves, they take some immature action, and some just, I'm ending it. Like, and the other people are like, what? But, or I'm not ready. Some people weren't ready for the next stage of life, and they could have gotten in relationships with people who were kind of ready for the next stage of life, and then it's like, oh shit, no, I'm not there. I would like to be, maybe, but, and I might, we'll all kind of go back and repeat old patterns. We probably don't see the truth of why we're doing what we're doing, but there could have been, if we're moving forward with people and we have a dream and those people seem to be defensive to that dream, even if they're not being manipulative and shadowy, well, then it's like, well, I do have a dream. So you're going to keep moving forward. I'm going to do this work within myself about detaching from this. And I'm maybe going to go try to find someone who I think is kind of motivated and inspired by that dream. And that's high vibe Scorpio too. I don't know. Everything I go invest in isn't going to work out the way I want. But if I do have a dream of things I want to manifest, and I'm not having ill will or ill intentions, but from a place of love in this lifetime, things that I want to manifest, I'm going to go look for people who want to manifest that same dream. And I'm willing to go on this adventure, and I have no guarantees in Scorpio that it's going to work out, because I kind of got willing to do the roller coaster of life. And some people always want to stay on the merry-go-round of life, so they're not going to do love, they're not going to live their more authentic life, they're never going to step out of their comfort zone. They want to keep staying in their comfort zone, and if they have things and people that manipulate them, they're probably going to keep letting those things keep manipulating them. And that's okay. They can all live their life the way they want it. But for people who have found out that I don't think we have the same dream, I think we have different ideas of what we think is just and fair, I think we have different things that kind of ultimately drive and motivate us, I'm going to go find some people who I think are more on the same page as me. I am going to communicate my truth to people. And those people have their free will to decide if that's their truth or not. And if it's not, then they're probably not going to move forward with me and keep moving forward with whatever way they're living their life, high vibe or otherwise. And I'm not going to give up on my dream. It's like, okay, that's all I can do is communicate my truth and love to people. And if they're seeing me clearly or not seeing me clearly, and work through their fears or whatever, they do. And if they don't, they don't. And it's like, okay, well, God's got a plan for me. I can't wait to find out what it is. Let's go on this adventure. But I would say some people have disconnected from some people who they know were more immature, hurtful, unkind, bossy, controlling, wanting to be indulged, were more manipulative, were deceptive, lacked some hope and faith and belief in love, very unstable, very ungrounded, immature, selfish, full of themselves. And you're ready to go move forward with the people in your life who are loving and encouraging you, and keep going on this adventure. And while you move forward on this new adventure, some of the people in your life who you know are kind of shadowy, they're going to go repeat this old pattern. And as they have other people who listen to their intuition and move on, they'll be up in their head because now they got to go find someone else to try to deceive and manipulate. And if they have someone in their life who currently seems to that they are able to deceive and manipulate, they're always stressed that person is one day going to offer themselves love to free themselves from their more worldly nature. Because these people do not want to free themselves from their more worldly nature to align with their more hopeful, believing, loving nature and free themselves. And they're always afraid other people will, because they have this way of living life or people in their life that they want the people they get in a relationship with to be manipulated by the things that manipulate them. But again, if they're in a relationship, it's always, if you're in a relationship and it's more out of the fear, the insecurity, the lust, the greed, the pride, the ego, the status, the image, it's always afraid that someone else is going to come along that has more status, more image, more willing to indulge someone, and that one or the other person will leave because it wasn't really inspired by love to begin with. So both people could be in the relationship really stressed out because both of them could know they're not really in it for love. And it could just be codependency. It's like, I hope you keep staying codependent because I'm going to keep being codependent. I hope you keep making it more about these things of the world that we indulge in or make our life about, because I plan to keep mine about that. What's coming up for some people who harness some high vibe Taurus energy that they might not see coming? The Lovers, the Wheel of Fortune, and the Five of Wands. And the reason is because of the Tower and the Three of Swords. You were kind of inspired to get to the truth. And the truth is, you don't want to stay in relationships that aren't just, fair, balance, and inspired by love. That's how a stable foundation moves forward. The Five of Wands comes after the Four of Wands. The Four of Wands is coming together with people in joy and celebration. And you go on this new journey, this new beginning. And you realize that some people aren't ready to move forward in life because they haven't dealt with, let go of living more from their mind than their heart, or their past pain and heartbreak, or, willing to detach from living more from their mind than their heart. And you were willing to get to the truth. You got to the truth. And you saw the truth, and the truth set you free. Love set you free. I can offer other people love. I hope you enjoy your life. I can't live my life like that. And the energy of love frees you to be inspired to live your truth and let them live their truth. And so you had to detach from some people that at one time you could have thought were more just and fair, and or that you thought you had the same truth of an idea of what you thought was just and fair. And then you came to realize kind of your truth of what you think is just and fair, and kind of maybe what drives and motivates you in these different zodiac sign traits and characteristics is different. And as you meet new people, and even if you left one situation to go to another one, there's going to be people you could communicate with. And I just think now you just see the truth more clearly instead of, you just got more clear. People who want to work together with people more cooperatively in a just and fair manner will easily work together with you in that way. And the people who don't will be defensive to it because that's not their truth. And it's like, okay, thank you. Thank you for showing me the truth of who you are. And I wish you peace, but I'm going to keep working with the people and invest more of my time, energy, and effort into the people who seem to be inspired to work together, who have worked through their more shadowy nature to work together with people more cooperatively. And if there was, there's always going to be other shadowy people, and when you really kind of look at life differently, and it's not like, oh, I quit drinking, or, oh, I started exercising, or, when you get to that point in your life where you're a whole different way of the way you used to kind of view life and relationships and yourself, that can kind of be a big purging of people in your life, because a lot of the people that you were hanging out with were aligned with that way of living life, and some of those people maybe haven't went through some of the experiences that you've went through that really made you look at life differently. And so then some of those people can't understand. They just know that you've changed and you're not the same person, and you're kind of not in the same energy, and they might be dealing with some of their own issues that they don't want to see the truth of. And it can just really change your whole life, and it can be very difficult and very painful. But you keep moving forward in it in love, and you might be surprised in the Tower card which people do seem to be more supportive and encouraging, and who isn't. And surprised at some of the people who were willing to keep working together with you through difficult times, and who wasn't. You know, you kind of see kind of what people's truths are, you know, by kind of how they view life, and if they listen to their intuition or they don't. What's coming up for people who harness some more shadowy Taurus energy that they don't see coming? The Taurus card, or the Death card, because of the Six of Cups. So, 2 Scorpio energies there. Well, I think people who are defensive to love, because they get hurt doing love, those people want to keep repeating this pattern of the past. They do not, and they're going to keep repeating this pattern until they're willing to deal with why they are defensive to harnessing high vibe Scorpio energy, of being more authentically themselves, kind of with the Children card, of being their more vulnerable self in a relationship. And part of it could be because maybe if something happened, it would be so devastating. You know, and again, it can be because people don't have this experience of being able to pick themselves back up again. Other people went and played in the world, and they have more experience at picking themselves up. Oh, I went running, and I fell down, and I skinned my knee, you know? It's kind of equivalent like that, or I was riding my bike, and I got pushed over. You know, when we had that more hopeful, believing spirit, all of these things could have happened to us, and we picked ourselves back up, and we were not going to let anything stop us from continuing on to believe in ourselves and believe in our dreams. And other people, who knows when they quit living their more authentic life and maybe letting their more egoic nature run their life. When did they give up on believing in themselves and believing in their dreams? But because of it, there's going to be some people, just like other people, who aren't going to stay in a relationship with them. Because, again, it can kind of feel like people, again, can be loving and encouraging and enjoy the relationship, but eventually you kind of feel like it is just kind of more indulging themselves in the relationship, and you don't end up having a more deep, meaningful relationship, or it gets to a spot and then it kind of stays stagnant and doesn't go beyond that because they won't come out from behind their defensive nature. And it can end up seeming superficial and shallow. But there'll always be other people. You know, there's always other people if you want to get in a relationship. And there's other people in the world that need to learn lessons from people like this. And because some of these people are maybe more about the ego or the image or indulging themselves in the relationship more so than the high vibe people, it's not about their ego and their image and the status. Would they enjoy certain friendships and relationships? Yes, but I would have to sacrifice too much of myself to indulge something that isn't aligned with my truth. And the other people could have a lot of lessons to learn in Sagittarius energy. So they could have a lot more people even drawn and attracted to being in a relationship with them because God's trying to get them up to speed. And the other people might not mind. Hey, I'll go focus on my career, my friendships, my job, other things I enjoy in the world, because I'm not as caught. That's not how I define my worth and value, is if I'm in a relationship or not. But some people really do, and they really don't like to be single, and they're really fearful they won't get in a relationship. So it's kind of like, let me go find someone to get in a relationship with. And then they're really fearful those people are going to leave. And, again, it's just so consumed with these things instead of being motivated and inspired by love. And there's other people who have those fears and insecurities. And then, it ends up they probably get in a relationship with someone who is more like themselves. And that is a just and fair relationship. What's unjust and unfair is someone who knows they don't have hope and faith and belief in love or in themselves and haven't healed or aren't more independent to try to get in relationships with people who are and trap them in a relationship. And the high vibe people don't want to get trapped in a shadowy relationship again. Until I think someone, and I get to know them well enough to believe they really are, and again, no guarantees, but I'm not also going to stay in heartbreak. If I meet someone, I'm willing to go on that roller coaster ride again to find out. But, I'm not going to. I have learned these lessons from this life experience. And it's not just going to be anyone. It's going to have to be someone who I think has really shown me that they really are who they say they are. And to the best of my ability, with the lessons I've learned and my intuition, I will make that decision. And the people who come in my life who think they want to be the next shadowy person to indulge in a relationship with me are going to find out I am not in that energy. And some people might think, oh, well, if you're single, aren't you heartbroken? And don't you have all this inner conflict and really feel left out in the cold? It's like, no. I'm enjoying my life. It's like, oh, shit. Well, I gotta go find someone else then. Let me go find someone else who is stressed out about maybe being single and is willing to sacrifice a deep, meaningful relationship and their dreams to get in a relationship with me and let me indulge myself in a relationship with them. It's like, yep, go enjoy. Go indulge yourself in someone else. I'll let that person deal with you because I've already dealt with people like you. So there you go, Taurus. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.